Today, we're focusing on the immense potential and vital support systems empowering businesses across Africa.
Our mission is really to enable entrepreneurs. Why entrepreneurs? Because we think they are uniquely equipped to create prosperity for themselves, for their communities, their countries, and really the continent at large.
Next up, Charity, let's explore the critical role of partnerships and your advocacy for gender equity.
And I believe the bigger the problem, the bigger the network of partners that are needed to address it. Certainly this challenge of gender equity, it's an important one.
This is Maheen and welcome to the CanadianSME Small Business Podcast, where we explore the strategic insights and innovative approaches driving economic development and entrepreneurship success on a global scale. Today, we're focusing on the immense potential and vital support systems empowering businesses across Africa. Now, in a continent that's poised for remarkable growth, identifying, enabling, and supporting entrepreneurs is paramount to creating widespread prosperity and sustainable impact. Now, our guest brings unique expertise in this transformative work. Joining us today is Charity Kabango, an accomplished entrepreneur, strategist, and co-founder and director at Entrepreneurial Solutions Partners, or ESPartners, you may call it, which is a leading advisory firm devoted to unlocking growth potential for businesses across Africa. The Charity has dedicated her career to empowering African entrepreneurs, driving inclusive economic development, and fostering prosperity for communities. And her expertise spans multiple industries, including agribusiness, technology, and education. And today, we'll explore ESPartners' unique mission and approach to investing in African entrepreneurs, discuss how they drive scalable and sustainable impact across diverse industries, and delve into Charity's personal journey and leadership in Africa's economic transformation, examine the power of partnerships and gender equity, and look at how they're mentoring the next generation of African leaders. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest, Charity. Charity, we're very pleased to have you on the show today. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
We're very pleased to have you with us. And Charity, ESPartners, as I've kind of mentioned in my bio as well, is uniquely positioned as an organization's best described as entrepreneurs that are investing in entrepreneurs across the African continent. So let's really start with your core mission. Can you please tell us, as co-founder of ESPartners, how do you support entrepreneurs in driving long-term success and prosperity across Africa, and what does your investing in entrepreneurs philosophy look like in action?
It's a great question to start with. Yeah, our mission is really to enable entrepreneurs, and why entrepreneurs? Because we think they are uniquely equipped to create prosperity for themselves, for their communities, their countries, and really the continent at large. We know that they are the job creators, they are the tax base in any economy. They really uphold all the economic activity. But we also think that they create the products and the services that are needed in their own communities. So they are the problem solvers and the engines of growth. And so when we are clear on who we want to serve, it just became a question of how. How do we develop a company that will come alongside those entrepreneurs, that will help unlock the challenges they face? It's not an easy road. The word of entrepreneurship, you would know well of all the conversations you have. It's not an easy path to choose. And so we designed a company, ESPartners, about 15 years ago with a mission of simply to unlock and support and enable and really help smooth out that path in any way we could. And the how has changed over 15 years, but that mission and that why has remained the same.
Absolutely. And that's a very clear mission and a very compelling one for sure, Charity. And it highlights a hands-on, practical approach to fostering entrepreneurial success on the continent. Now let's delve into how ESPartners achieves scalable and sustainable impact across a diverse range of industries. Charity, ESPartners has a continental footprint, working with various stakeholders to drive impact. How does ESPartners collaborate with governments, with global organizations, and private sector clients to create strategies that drive scalable, sustainable impact across sectors like agribusiness, tech, and education in Africa?
Yeah, I mean, we've worked in a range of sectors: agribusiness, tourism, certainly, tech, and it always comes back to how do you solve the problem that is faced right in front of the entrepreneurs we're working with. They're real problems. It's not just theoretically. And so partnership is central to that.
Mm-hmm.
It is, can't solve big problems, can't solve any real problems on your own. No man is an island. And we certainly at ESPartners have a number of collaborations that bring to life all the work we do. None of the work we do happens singularly by us and our team. I would say at the beginning of it all, we start with, I think we have a unique position in that we've worked directly with our entrepreneurs. We call it our scale practice.
Mm-hmm.
So that can be incubators or accelerators or programs that are designed to help take an entrepreneur from point A to point B. So it might be your MVP to prototyping to growing to scaling to exporting. We take them along the whole growth journey with a range of different programs. But we also recognize that they don't exist in a vacuum. They don't exist. Right. They exist in an ecosystem. And so we've always had a part of our practice, which is what we call our insights practice, where we serve as strategic advisors to the macroeconomic players that create the environment where entrepreneurs have to work. So that could be governments. An example would be working on a tourism sector strategy for a particular country, and then being able to go and work, on an incubator for small businesses in that sector. The result of that is we're able to take learnings from on the ground with these entrepreneurs to these decision makers, what challenges they're facing, what are their particular barriers, and vice versa. We're able to take the insights and the strategic thinking of governments, banks, donor partners, and bring that to these entrepreneurs for them to find solutions, find opportunities within those priorities.
Right.
So for me, that provides us with a unique way to set up partnership and enable partnership, knowing that that's central to how we operate.
That's a very comprehensive approach, Charity, and really addressing the multifaceted nature of economic development across such a vast continent. Now let's shift our focus to your personal journey and leadership in Africa's economic transformation, because Charity, your personal journey is deeply intertwined with the story of Africa's economic transformation and entrepreneurial growth. Tell us, in what ways has your academic and professional journey influenced how you uplift and support African entrepreneurs? And why do you see entrepreneurship as a key driver of opportunity and prosperity in Africa?
Yeah, I would start with my professional journey. I think, like lots of people, it's been a winding road. Mine hasn't been one of linear progression. My background is a mix of engineering. I studied electrical engineering at Western University, but took one course in international studies and fell in love with it. So now I have to do 2 degrees because I really love this material. And I then did my master's in engineering and public policy, which was an opportunity to think about how all this technical subject matter, math, science, tech, could be used for greater good. Really, public policy is about how do you shape policies that benefit communities and countries. But the particular lens that I had was around scientific and engineering policies in particular. And so I think all of those have influenced my work in some way. Probably not the most direct ways, but international studies. ESPartners is headquartered in Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, and we have our second office in Rwanda, where I'm from. But we have colleagues and team members that are based in Kenya, in Dakar. We've done work in over a dozen African countries, and I don't think that work. Part of understanding the context in each of these countries is, embedded in that early thinking around intercultural sensitivity, understanding political and economic realities of different places. So that degree, I think, was somehow embedded in the work that I do. Engineering, for a long time, I thought I was no longer an engineer. I started my career in automotive and then walked away to do this work. But I've since come back to this idea that engineers are at their core problem solvers. And as an entrepreneur, I basically wake up every day and say, what's the biggest problem that I need to address in my business? It's certainly a part of how I support or coach entrepreneurs when I do that. How do we address together the biggest constraints in their business? So I think that problem-solving mindset it's always been there, and it remains there, and it's very engineering. And then I think the public policy piece is really embedded in how we've had this two-prong approach to working with entrepreneurs, but also with public sector and or ecosystem players to think about the macro environment in a different way. So I think the public policy piece has also kind of found its way into my work. And then I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the last 15 years as an entrepreneur, because that's a big part of my identity and my professional career at this point. And although I didn't do an MBA or study business, I do think being an entrepreneur is a part of who I am now, as much as being an engineer or anything else. And so I think, all of those things come to life in my work and then certainly in this business that I've been blessed to be a part of.
That's amazing. And it's truly a very inspiring journey, Charity. Thank you for sharing that. And really combines technical expertise with a profound commitment to economic development and leadership for sure. We'll be right back after this short break. Please stay with us as we dive into how Charity's leadership is driving Africa's economic transformation.
Hey, you think you know UPS? Yeah, that's us. Everybody knows that. You know what you didn't know? This. Okay, try to keep up. Ocean, us. Ground, rail, air, so us. Guess who? Us. Customs cleared, borders cleared, done. Us. You still with me? Wait for it. Boom. Us. Intelligent, automated, fulfillment. Us. Yep, healthcare too. Digital your thing? Yeah, well, book it, ship it, track it. You feeling me yet? Yep, that's all us. That's all UPS.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's continue our discussion with Charity and explore the impact of partnerships and gender equity in Africa's growth. Next up, Charity, let's explore the critical role of partnerships and your advocacy for gender equity, because Charity, achieving lasting social and economic change, it often depends on robust collaboration and inclusive practices. How critical are public-private sector partnerships for scalable impact in Africa, and how do you promote gender equity and women's leadership across the continent?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I'll start with partnerships. We talked about it a bit earlier, but I'll use one program we've been running for the last little while, the MasterCard Africa Growth Fund, as an example. And, that initiative is run by 5 consortium partners, MEDA, us, ESPartners, ACG, who does comms, Criterion, and Genesis. And all of us come together bringing different areas of expertise to deliver on what is a really big problem, which is access to finance and really shifting the types of finance that are available on the continent, and really who's deciding, who are the decision makers in finance. That initiative invests, a fund of fund that invests in African-led, gender lens investment vehicles. And our role in that is basically to serve as the business development support lead. And so we support the investment fund managers, investment vehicles directly, as well as the portfolio of companies that they invest in. And I believe the bigger the problem, the bigger the network of partners that are needed to address it.
Right.
Certainly this challenge of gender equity, it's an important one, whether we're in Canada or the US or any of the 54 African countries, women are running businesses. And yet the challenges they face are either a multiple of their male counterparts or completely unique to themselves. I look at access to finance, first of all. I think in the US, 3% of women-led businesses are getting financing, compared to triple that when it's a male-led business.
Right.
That statistic isn't available on the continent, but I know that the experience is the same. Women are just not accessing finance in the same way, and barriers like collateral, a number of things stand in the way. And so part of our work has been being really intentional about how we design programs that address some of those constraints, whether it's time poverty, making sure our programs are flexible, making sure they're safe, that they're being run at a location that's accessible, and that young women who might want to participate in growing their business can actually access it. And we've had really great partners like the MasterCard Foundation that really embeds that in their own work. Certainly we have our own targets around gender parity in the programs that we run, but it helps to have aligned partners that also value gender equality, that want to see women win. And we know that when women are empowered, they empower communities, they empower countries. And so for us, it's really central to how we design, deliver, and deploy all of our programming.
Absolutely. That's a vital two-pronged approach, Charity, really highlighting the synergy between strategic partnerships and inclusive development. Finally, let's discuss how ESPartners is mentoring the next generation and some of your recent achievements. Because Charity, your commitment, it really extends to actively shaping the future of African entrepreneurship through mentorship. How do you mentor African entrepreneurs to build prosperous futures, and what impact has your collaboration on the MasterCard Foundation Africa Growth Fund had on the continent?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really an interesting initiative because, first of all, it's Pan-African, and so it's really touching a number of countries. But I think it's addressing the challenges around business growth and job creation from a multi-tiered approach. So access to finance being kind of the top of it, being a fund of funds. It's deploying capital to gender lens investment vehicles and working with African-led fund managers. So really shifting power and the dynamics of who gets to make investment decisions. But at the same time, we get to do the work of mentoring and working closely with these small businesses, including the IVs, the investment vehicles, who are at their core small businesses as well often. How our approach with that is always to work in partnership, again, to come alongside these businesses and really understand what their mission is, what's driving them, what's working well, what are some of their key challenges. We do a really holistic diagnostic of the business and then work to help them prioritize which are the key levers for their growth. We call it a roadmap for growth. And here are the 2-3 things, the 4 or 5 things that in sequence are likely to have the biggest impact on their business. And then we're in a position where there is a fund for that. We're able to deploy, if you need a financial analyst, if you need a operations support, if you need a go-to-market strategy, we're able to deploy some real tangible support to help them address those priorities in their business. And for me, then it's not just lip service. It's not aspirational. We're not wanting to walk alongside them. We actually are able to see them go from point A to point B because we've unlocked a few of the key challenges that they themselves have identified through our work together.
Absolutely. That's a truly inspiring vision, Charity, and the tangible impact of collaborations like the MasterCard Foundation Africa Growth Fund is remarkable. And your dedication, it really truly shows, to like the way you mentor, the way you foster impactful partnerships is clearly a key driver in shaping Africa's entrepreneurial future. But this has been a great conversation with you, Charity. Thank you so much for spending the time with us. Now, as we wrap up, if there is one key message that you want our Canadian SME listeners to take away about contributing to the global economic development through entrepreneurship, what would it be?
That's a great way to close out. I'd say there'd be 3 things. The first would be think partnerships. We've talked about partnerships quite a bit as we've had our conversation. It's come up a lot in the way we do work. But I think no man is an island and no business really succeeds in isolation. And so I would tell the SMEs in the Canadian community to think partnership and to think what new partnerships could I look at. To add to that, I would say think globally. So we have an opportunity plus a challenge with the current political climate to think about new types of partners. I think we've had a partner to the south for a long time, and then we have an opportunity to think more globally about what partnerships look like in our value chains, in our innovation, in how we do business. And then the last would be specifically to think Africa.
Right.
Africa is the youngest continent with, I think, 70% of its population under 30, which brings opportunities for labor force, opportunities for innovation. It also has some of the economies that are growing at the fastest rate over the last few years. So you have, emerging economies to work with. Africa is really the future in many ways. I think by 2050, 1 in 4 citizens of this planet will be of African descent. And so I think SMEs in Canada would be poised to really think about how they connect with that demographic, with those businesses, with entrepreneurs on the continent of Africa.
That's a powerful and a very essential message, Charity. Thank you so much for that. And again, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your vision with us.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And that was an insightful conversation with Charity Kabango, the co-founder and director at Entrepreneurial Solutions Partners, or ESPartners, on empowering African entrepreneurs, driving sustainable impact, and fostering partnerships for economic growth across Africa. Again, thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. We really appreciate your continued support. Please be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more expert insights and resources that can help your business thrive. You can also visit our website, CanadianSME.ca, for more valuable information and tools. Special shout out to our partners, RBC, UPS, A1 Global College, ADP, and Google for their ongoing commitment to empowering small businesses in Canada. Until next time, please keep innovating and striving for success. We'll see you in the next episode.